Hey guys, welcome back to your favorite three. So in this episode, we'll be talking about Henrietta Lacks. And if you do not know who Henrietta Lacks is, she made a difference in everyone's life, basically. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how she's made a difference.
Let's go.
Let's go.
So Henrietta Lacks was born in Virginia on August 1st, 1920, and she died in Baltimore, Maryland in October 4th, 1951.
So Miss Henrietta Lacks had 5 kids. In her 5th pregnancy, she did have some issues, and then she did begin to have some bleeding and then start feeling like a knot inside of her. And the issue was that after she gave birth, the doctor did not catch this knot when she was like taking out the baby. So it was, and even after her 6 weeks checkup, they didn't even catch her there. But it was afterwards that she went back, and then she talked about her concerns and that the issue that she was bleeding, and that's when they looked at her more in detail.
Yeah. So basically, to kind of not summarize it, but yes, like Kathy said, Henrietta Lacks, she felt a knot in her stomach, and families and everything thought it was because, oh, you're pregnant. And like Kathy said, after she gave birth, the knot was still there. And come to find out that Henrietta Lacks actually had cervical cancer, and it was near like the later stages of cervical cancer.
Yes. And then so they took out cells from that like knot, and it was Dr. Gaze who did it, and they took out those cells, and Dr. Gaze was doing cancer research, and the issues that he was having with cancer cells were they keep dying and dying and dying. But what was unique about Henrietta Lacks, it was that her cells, they would double for every 20 to 24 hours.
And they would not die. So that's where it comes for the immortal cells.
Immortal Cells of Henrietta Lacks. They actually made a book about her, and they made a movie because she contributed so much to science. Although for a long time, these cells, the identity and where they came from were unknown.
And these cells they named it the HeLa cells.
HeLa cells.
And it was basically based off her first and last name. You take the first 2 letters and the last 2 letters, you get the HeLa cells.
And actually, I think they made like a fake name for her. I think they called her Henrietta Lane or something like that, because I think they came up with a different name when they gave the name originally too, because there was another name. It was like Lane.
Oh, okay.
As well. But later in I think it was like a Rolling Stone interview, it came out that it was actually Henrietta Lacks, which surprised her family.
Yeah. And it was a big surprise to the family because the family did not know about the cells. They did not know that these doctors were taking their mom's cell while she was sick and using it for research. And literally, they say they weren't like selling them, but the family did not know that they were using her cells. And I remember learning that, that it was, of course, illegal for them to take cells without the permission of the patient or the family, but they were able to take the cells before then because technically Henrietta was still alive, so they were able to take the cells because she was alive.
And apparently that they were doing this with tons of people back then. Like
they did it with a lot of patients.
Yeah. And I think they said that like they had their consent, but I don't think they realized, I don't think the patients realized like what they were doing with the cells exactly, or what was happening with the cells.
Yeah. Because in Henrietta's case, that when she passed away, unfortunately she passed away, I don't know, did we even say
Yes.
Yeah, so actually what had happened was I was reading and I think she went in like a 3rd time because she started to feel more sick. She went in and demanded for them to take her, like to treat her
and look and see what's going on.
Because she had recently she was getting like radium treatments.
Yes, and they used radium treatments back then for everything.
And she started to get more sick, so she demanded to be like basically in the hospital, and she never came back. That was the last time she went. She didn't come back to her kids or anything.
And I did read something that, I don't know, the first doctor that she went to, like, and he basically told her like, oh, you're fine, like, the cancer is fine. literally, but she kept saying like, I don't feel well. And he even wrote in his chart like, oh, she's fine. Sent her home. And then she came back, and I think that's the time that you're talking about, where they retested her and then saw that because she said that she felt like she can feel something in her body moving around. And then she went back to the hospital, and then they saw that the cancer metastasized like all over her body. And then she died within a year of finding out that she had cervical cancer.
Yeah, that's right.
She died very young.
She was very young. Very young.
Was she like 32, 30?
Yeah, she was in her 30s.
Yeah.
With 5 kids. That's sad.
And what is very sad that she came from poverty. She passed away, left behind her children. And like we said, they didn't even tell the family that they were using her cells. These scientists, doctors, all multiple healthcare providers were benefiting off of this woman's cells because they're immortal. They were not dying, but did not notify the family. And her cells are so unique that, like they said, it multiplies. It does not die. They would put it on their skin and the cell would survive. They would like put it with different diseases and the cell would like kill
overpower the other cells.
The other cells. And because of this, because of her cells, it's just crazy. Like I'm still learning the science behind it, and they say that they still don't know themselves how that's even possible.
I know,
which is crazy. And her cells was able to make vaccines.
Yeah. They use them for the COVID-19 vaccine.
The study, even like the polio, HPV. I know when I was 14, 15 years old, was 16. I don't know.
No, yeah.
I got like the HPV vaccine, like
cancer,
Parkinson's,
a lot of research,
infertility treatments.
By using her cells.
Like, I don't think nobody on this planet has not been affected by her cells.
Yeah,
and so that's why I find it very interesting that a lot of people don't know who she is, and I feel like the one thing that we or other people in science need to, let people know that.
Pay more tribute to.
Yes, and that was the thing that they were trying. And then I was reading, and I was getting kind of upset when I was reading because they were trying to see like, oh, so the family found out, let's just give them the cells and that's it. Well, no, like, why don't you? And then that's what the family said. No, we don't want the cells. We want recognition.
It's the principle. It's the respect. It's all of that.
Yes.
You know what else was, in my opinion,
the family
super
didn't find out
up
until like 20 plus years after.
No, you know what else I think was really messed up? That's messed up too, but I think the fact that, this family was grieving, right? And then they go and like manipulate the family into thinking, hey, we want to help you.
Yes,
we want to help you.
They couldn't extract any of the more cells. They needed more cells. That's what I was explaining earlier. Yeah. So once the patient dies, they had a law that you cannot take the cell. You have to get consent. And consent is something that they did not have. So what did they do, Jasmine?
They told the family, the children and the dad, hey, we want to make sure that you don't have what she had. We don't want you to get cancer. We're gonna take samples, blood samples. We're gonna take samples from you guys so we can figure this out.
So you don't have to be affected by this.
That is sick.
So that's how they still never told the dad or the family, hey, we're using this stuff for research because your wife's cells are immortal. They never said that, but more so played it off like, oh, this is for you. This is to benefit you. So of course the dad, the husband, signed it off.
Of course, someone so close to them died. Like I would be scared too. Like, oh my gosh, it's in my genetics, or it's in my it was really messed up.
Yeah, so I feel like it was just like they were like, it's the principle, but it's just like what kind of like triggered me was just like they were just trying to like sweep it under the rug, like everything that they do with minorities, sweep it under the rug,
take, and don't give recognition.
Yes. Yeah. So then her family members were like, no, we want recognition. We want society and people to know that the cells from an African American woman are changing the world. Which they are, and they're still doing it.
Yes, and I remember listening or learning that the reason why they claim that one of the reasons why they didn't tell society where the cells came from because they didn't want people to know that it came from a Black woman. It came from because they didn't want people to know that because they had a fear that by saying that these cells came from a Black lady, that people would refuse certain vaccines.
Really? Where did you read that?
Somewhere online.
I'm not surprised.
I forgot the name of the.
I'm not surprised
because
because
it was a part of the documentary. I didn't read it. I was listening to like different audios and stuff on YouTube and different places that's what they talked about.
That is crazy.
But I'm not surprised.
I'm
not.
Not either, but that's crazy.
Yeah, definitely not surprised. But the whole situation is just, it's messed up.
Yeah.
It makes it even more messed up because, mind you, the Lacks family they grew up in poverty.
They didn't have insurance.
They didn't have medical insurance. They lost their mom. She had 5 kids. Did she only have 5 kids? I thought she had more. Had 5 kids. They're living in poverty while other people are making money off of their mom.
No. But they say that they didn't make money out of it. Which is okay.
Medications is being sold super, like, people cannot afford medication because pharmaceutical companies charge the consumer so much.
Mm-hmm. So I think what they meant, which is funny the way you like, it always depends on wording.
The wording. Yeah.
So
they say he didn't sell them; he was just giving off for free.
Exactly.
And that's another thing. Sorry, Jasmine. That's another thing that kind of still pisses me off and doesn't make it right. How are you going to give someone else's cells for free? You don't even have that. You shouldn't even have that authority or power to choose if you're going to sell or give something away for free.
Agree. And actually, I want to tell you, because this number was very interesting. According to the NIH, it's estimated that the total weight of the HeLa cells ever grown exceeds 50 million metric tons.
I don't even know what that is. You know, I'm bad with math.
It's a lot. Tons.
I know it's a lot.
50 million metric tons.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think, like, I thought about it and I'm like, okay, like, if I was a family and I put myself like in this situation, I'm like, okay, if I was a family member and this happened to my mom, I would feel like my mom was violated.
Yeah, she was violated.
I would feel like my mom is everywhere. And I feel like, especially like when I watched the documentary or like the movie based off of it, the family didn't know. So when they said clone cells, I felt like when I was watching it, they thought there was like a clone of their mother out in the world, like of her physical being, which in a sense it was, but like,
because it's a part of her.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's so traumatizing to know that your mom is out there in other people's hands and like you don't know what they're using her cells for. And I don't know, that just would make me feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it's sad. And to add on to that, they had people calling them constantly asking to test their cells and still trying to use the family. Use and abuse the family.
And her family didn't make any profits from the multi-million dollars that they made from them.
And that's what irritates me. Like, I love that, the Lacks, like, HeLa cell has made like a difference.
Yeah, no, it has.
And healthcare saved a lot of people. Still to this day, it's being used for things we don't even know of.
AIDS. For
things that we have in the work. Yeah, literally everything. And the family is still living, not still living in poverty, because I don't know the situation, but growing up back then, they were struggling. Like, if anything, the Lacks family should be set up for life, for generations on generations on.
Yes.
Money should not be an issue for them.
Or, like, even their health concerns, be taken care of in terms of, like, their health care be provided.
It should be free
insurance.
At this point. It should be free.
I agree.
It literally should be free.
They basically created, like, understanding of science. She provided the understanding of science or everything in medicine, pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, there's not one person on this planet who's not affected by what she did for
her cells are like the basis to build greater things, other things.
And that's what I was saying. It's about wording, right? Like, maybe they didn't necessarily make money off of selling her cells, but her cells produced
the vaccines that they're charging for.
Exactly. So many things that they are charging for, that they are making profits from.
And they did the wording for legal purposes. Well, sell. First of all, that wasn't even shouldn't have been your choice to choose if you were going to sell or not.
And I think you're right, because I think I was reading something where I was like, well, the reason why they can't be sued was because they didn't sell. I think I was reading that and I was like, damn, that's so messed up.
That's how they get over on people.
Yeah.
And these are smart like very educated people that tries to manipulate some people who
that
may not
have the
that.
top lawyers. Like,
Yes,
John Hopkins has so much money.
Yeah.
You know, like how would you even sue John Hopkins? You know, like,
John Hopkins is huge. So
Yeah.
their hospital views, universities. My last black with the dude that I talked about for Black History, Vivian T. Thomas. He worked at John Hopkins and did the trilogy of Hello.
Yes.
Discover that there and everything.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I first started doing research from Henrietta, I looked at the website and I just clicked on it. I didn't know which website it was until I was finishing reading, and it's like, yeah, this is why right now in John Hopkins we don't do it anymore. We are trying to get consent from everyone. I'm like, you sound so sick right now, bro. Like, you're just trying to save your own butt.
Yeah.
And then the only good thing that I did read on is that the family, her family is trying to work on laws and just trying to make changes when it comes to consent, because that's what like kind of triggers me, because the first thing that we thought, always ask for consent. So why hasn't it changed? Why are they not changing stuff now? Like, you know what I'm saying? So they're working on making these changes right now, but it's kind of like I feel like they should still get some retribution from what happened, even though if it happened a lot of years ago, it happened. First it happened, and these cells are still helping. Like, when I read that these cells help like COVID-19 vaccine, I was like, oh my god, like they're still using them. Why didn't they get retribution? Like, they should get retribution.
I literally think there's not one thing that I can say that they maybe haven't touched. Now that I'm thinking about it,
yeah, it's.
And then another thing that I was also interested when I was like, okay, vaccines, and then I was like, in vitro, and I was like, that is huge right now, because a lot of I don't know if it's because of my age, and I would be looking in TikTok, a lot of people that I've seen in my For You page, they're all going to in vitro, and you're changing people's life, and they charge a lot for this in vitro stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Her family should be wealthy for life.
I feel like her family handled everything with grace. Too much grace.
And that's the issue. They need to stop giving, and that's something that I talked about it. Like, they should stop giving people in power so much grace, because that's why they feel like it's okay, and they're probably gonna do it again. Or they probably already did it, and nobody knows why, because he didn't make it to TV.
Yeah, but I know that
Black people could just be so accepting of certain things that should not be accepting of. Yeah. That's another that's another topic in itself.
The only thing that I know right now is, and you can correct me, but is it that her family members sit on like a committee for the sales, like to kind of decide what
Yes, because they started to become like fearful. I don't know if those are their exact words, but because literally everyone had access to their DNA.
Yes.
And they're like, okay, we understand it's helping, but still know that we're here. This is a part of us. So they we want to know what our cells is being used for, how it's being used. So they became partners
of the committee.
Yeah, so they can approve certain things that they may agree on and may not agree on.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's good. At least.
Yeah. So because I think they were they were in a lawsuit, but I think they ended up, I don't think they got any money. They didn't get any money. But what had happened was that they were able to establish themselves on the committee to make decisions for the cells, which I was like, okay, I'm like, at least they got that. Like, I'm happy that they have control or a say in what happens with their cells. Because, that is their DNA.
Yeah, that people doing research on. And then still asking, I don't know if they're still doing it, but I know years after Henrietta Lacks passed away, they're literally contacting the family, trying to figure out what's so different about the mom cells, Henrietta Lacks, versus like the kids and the family cells. So still asking them to do research in their cells and DNAs being out to like literally everyone.
That's crazy. That's crazy. She definitely made history.
Yeah, she made history.
Yeah.
It's sad to know that she
doesn't
died from cervical cancer literally super fast and didn't get to see the big difference she's made in the world. Like she's saved so many. Like unfortunately, she lost her own life, but that led us to like where we are now, in a sense, with healthcare and just medicine and cancer,
she is
like saving. Pretty much.
She helped save a lot. She's still helping save a lot of lives
to this day.
That's
like we don't even, some things they have in the works we don't even know about, but they use her cells for pretty much everything.
And then what also like that's why I like when we do this type of like episodes when it comes like research and stuff, because then I learn stuff, because I never heard of her name. And that like, then I get mad at me. I'm like, you need to check yourself, because I'm like, you need to like, you know, look. But I'm like, where do I look when nobody talks about her?
Can I tell you how I found out about her? I was walking somewhere, and you know how people have like those built-in like book.
Oh, like where you give a book and you take a book or something like that?
Okay. So I found one of those, and I was like going through it. Mind you, I didn't have a book to give. Okay. But I took a book, okay? And the one book I got was The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks.
Wow.
That was the book I got.
I didn't know that was the book you got.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you got a book. But
I know.
That's how I found out about her. I read the book.
Did you read the book? Oh, you read the book?
Yeah, I read the book.
Her story is amazing.
Yeah.
I heard of her before. I don't know, maybe it was undergrad where I first heard of her, but then I actually heard about her again in this program. It was pre-licensure. I don't know what portion of the program where I learned about her. I don't know if it was an ethics class, but it was one of the nursing classes where we were required to watch her documentary and then write about it. Did you take that class? It was a class like we literally talked about all like the wrong stuff in healthcare. Did it on Henrietta Lacks. I also talked about women in health, Black women, maternity, and Black women, and like the deaths of the babies and the mothers and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it was a different teacher, so it was like differently thought. And we didn't talk about her, so that's why I'm like, well, I would rather talk about her than talk about like vulnerability and like other stuff that we did talked about. But yeah, like that's why I literally just found out about her like last night.
It was literally the class that talked about all the messed up stuff that happened in healthcare, where they used to like test and
we talk about
doing purposely not giving pain medication and drilling holes in your head for mental health and everything. Like no. Girl, it sounds like you missed the whole course. The whole course was literally learning about all the stuff that happened in history and healthcare and how it's different today. Because there's so much stuff that bad stuff, like terrible stuff that
I actually do want to do an episode on that. Remember I was telling you,
and they have Black people messed up over and over and over again.
And then that's why I get so mad that they give so much grace, because they shouldn't give grace, because that's how they get away with it.
Don't get you like, don't be telling me what I should and shouldn't be.
sorry, but it's just like, I just get mad. Like, I know. I'm not trying to tell you how.
Not you, a non-Black person, telling Black people what they should and shouldn't be.
Sorry, it's just my opinion.
But I do agree. She's got the agreement for the one Black person.
Yeah. She's just being an advocate.
She's being an advocate.
Yes.
But her story. Let's go back to Henrietta Lacks.
I think it should be taught in school.
I agree.
More.
Right. I agree. It should be like
high school.
I agree.
Young.
Because her story is very interesting.
It's very inspiring. Like,
very inspiring.
Yes, inspiring. Like, whoa. Like, even though she died from the disease and everything, look at that. Her cells, have done so much.
For me, it's like both sides, like the nerdy sides of like the science behind it, like her cells, like how is that possible, like how amazing that is, like she's one of a kind.
They still haven't figured it out.
They still haven't figured it out, and I'm like, dang,
whoa.
Like just like my mind can't wrap around how a cell can be immortal. Like it doesn't die, it fights off other cells. It literally.
That's crazy, because they even fight off, if you think about it, COVID, and COVID is like a new disease.
Yeah.
Like, and supposedly, like, you know, it keeps mutating and stuff, but you know what I'm saying?
Crazy. I'm sorry, like that. It is
that thought, like that science side of it. To me, it's like I'm so like intrigued of like how is that possible?
Yeah.
Like I look at her just like a woman that's just
mystical.
Yeah.
I like from the documentary I heard, she was just always like the life of the room. That's what they said. She was just the life of the room, and you always wanted to be around her.
Oh,
and I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah,
she was beautiful too.
Oh, she really was
really beautiful.
Yeah,
very beautiful.
And then I am happy that her family is getting like the recognition that they need and deserve. It shouldn't have taken this long, but
I also thought it was really nice that the family, like, I'm sure they had a lot of anger towards the people that did that, you know, to their mom.
Let me follow up on that when you said.
But they still were able to see like everything her mom accomplished, and they were able to see just like, you know, like everything she did, and they still wanted her cells to keep doing like good for the world. And I think that was really what drove them to like continue wanting to have
her cells for the research and
exactly.
Her mom is kind of like living in everyone and like saving everyone's life.
Exactly. And I think I don't know if it was I read it somewhere or like I got it from the movie, the documentary, but I did read that one of her family members ended up using in vitro fertilization, and like that was possible because of Henrietta Lacks.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah,
that's so
cool.
I know you said like a lot of good things, but let me say one more thing that pissed me off, and then pissed off her family too. The day that she passed away, literally the day they said that she passed away at 12 a.m. The day that she passed away, the scientists and the doctors that was working on their cell, they did a whole not like I'm gonna say broadcasting. What are those called? Like when you just a whole broadcasting or seminar or something about how they discovered this cell. They never once they didn't even recognize her, the patient or the person who they got the cells from, knowing that she passed away that day too. Still talked about the cells. The HeLa cell didn't say who they got it from. The same day she passed away.
That's disrespectful. You're right. You're right. They announced it to the world.
To the world.
That day.
What is it called? Broadcast? I don't know.
They were on the news.
The conference or something.
But they announced it to the world the day she died. I was like,
did not once say like, oh, we got these cells from a patient named Henrietta Lacks who's basically made it possible for us to. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yes. At least these.
Still that.
But that's the thing. Like, how ethical can you be? Like, to not do that. At least do that. Like, doesn't it?
Unethical.
Unethical can you be? Like, can you think like, oh my god, can you feel like I'm doing something wrong? Like, I would feel some type of way, like, oh my god, you're doing something right. Like, don't you want to do something right? Because I know deep inside of you, you know you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Some people,
like, I guess,
some people just don't give.
That's true. That's true. Care. But it's so unethical, and how they still are able to call themselves like doctors. Get out of here. Like, that's unethical.
Yeah, the only thing that we can do now is like really try to right the wrongs by really just bringing awareness to Henrietta Lacks and what she's done for science. And I guess continue educating people about her. And,
because a lot of people don't know.
A lot of people don't know. Yeah, like who knows how? Even me, like I don't know, because I've taken a lot of science classes, and I don't know that I can tell you that they ever brought it up in a science class.
I don't remember hearing about the HeLa cells.
No, not in my classes.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I told you, I found the book. I was like, "Ooh, what is this?" My nerdy self, and I read it. So.
So that's, like you said, it's good that we're doing these type of episodes where someone like us who may not, we didn't know, but now we gave like a little bit of information about this person, and it'll be your duty to go out and read more about Henrietta Lacks, read more about the other people who made a difference in healthcare that we mentioned in past episodes, because there's a lot of amazing people out there, Black and brown people
that look just like us.
But that's not being pushed in school. That's not being pushed anywhere really. But we're slowly getting there. But the more we educate ourselves, the more we'll be proud of like where we come from, be proud of our history and everything,
and also feel like we belong, because I feel like a lot of times we don't see people of color or people that look like us, and we're like, do we even belong here? But in reality, we are the ones making a difference.
A difference. So do the work behind it. Yeah. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of PG3 with your hosts Linda, Jasmine, and Kathy. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe at a potent dose of 3 so that you never miss an episode and your weekly dose.